to Behind the Caution Tape. I'm your host, CrashLit. A lot to get into with USC Athletics last week, a lot to get into this week, but before we do, obviously you might notice I got a new setup. And for those who don't know, I actually moved out to Virginia, got in last night, left on Thursday, so I got a job out in Virginia with Cosmic Baseball, so super excited about this opportunity, but that does mean that I will be in Virginia now and in a new studio. So as you can see, I'm building out my background behind me. Hopefully we'll keep going on it. Whenever I can get some USC stuff to put back there, I will. So yeah, I'm in Virginia now, so that does mean that I will not be popping up to games as much as I previously was, but that's just obviously, just with graduation and all that, I did know that this day was, obviously coming at some point, so just the reality. Definitely, tough to, not going to be there every night, but at the same time, I'm obviously, super excited for this opportunity, and that does not mean, though, that I will stop my coverage of USC. Behind the Caution Tape will continue to come at you every Monday, and then obviously I'll still work to keep getting guest interviews, as well as also, I'm planning on continuing with the Voice of College Football, so you can catch me every night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, every Tuesday at 7 p.m., so be sure to keep watching there. So that's everything that's going on with me, but just wanted, obviously, I think a lot of you saw that, so just wanted to, take a moment to address that since, I haven't exactly been too public about it, but now that it's kind of out there, I just figured might as well just address it here. So just so you know that, yes, I'm in Virginia. I won't be at USC, every USC game like I was, but that is not stopping me from doing my podcasting and continuing to cover USC and stay up to date on all the teams to bring you all the latest on USC athletics. Finally, before we get to everything, be sure to check out my my CrashLit Forever merch line, a collab that I did with the USC bookstore. They reached out to me about, so super cool to do it. Check out the merch line. There will be a link in the description to this video, so check that out. It was a really fun collab, like I said, so go check the link and go copy your CrashLit Forever merch. It's available online and in the USC bookstore. So also be sure to also be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever. Follow me on Instagram at CrashLit. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at CrashLit to get the video version of Behind the Caution Tape. So now let's get into everything that is going on with USC football. So the first bit of news is obviously regarding the defense. And that news is just with USC seemingly rounding out their staff. So obviously, USC, while I think Lincoln Riley was hoping to bring in or keep most of his defensive staff together with Gary Patterson coming in to replace Danton Lynn, who left for Penn State, I think obviously it didn't stay that way with Doug Belk's contract not being renewed and Eric Henderson leaving for the Commanders. But obviously USC then Gary Patterson brought in Paul Gonzalez, and also who was at Baylor, and then also former All-Big 12 safety Sam Carter, who played for Patterson at TCU. So Sean Nua is sticking around, and then Rob Ryan sounds like will be moved to an analyst role. Mike Eckler will move to coach both special teams and linebackers. And then also Skylar Jones was promoted to coach defensive tackles, and AJ Howard will coach outside linebackers. So that's obviously 9 coaches on USC's defensive staff. So obviously, and then I think on that side there's a lot of change, but then on the offensive side, the whole staff stayed together. Not surprised there, given that there's more continuity, and obviously that is where Lincoln Riley has more area of expertise. So definitely just interesting to be following all those movements, but still definitely an interesting time for sure for USC. So really just, wanted to bring that up and just talk about, because it's definitely the big topic. And even in the offseason, I'm always committed to bring you some bit of news about football throughout Behind the Caution Tape. And the other bit of news is when homecoming and reunion weekend will be, and also Trojan Family Weekend, which everyone knows is Parents Weekend. So HOCO weekend will be against Washington on October 3rd, and Parents Weekend will be against Ohio State on October 31st. interesting times for sure. Obviously, usually, I think most people are used to homecoming being later in this year and Parents Weekend being earlier. So USC definitely doing something interesting with this. We'll see how it all goes. Obviously, I don't think as it stands right now with my schedule I can make it back for UW, but should be done with work in time for Ohio State. Obviously, I'll see how it all plays. Can't commit to anything. Right now, the most I can offer in terms of what I'll be at for any sport for that matter is just I'm going to be there when I can. So that's just the most I can promise, especially now that I'm all the way on the East Coast, which is like new for me too. It's like really my first time really leaving kind of my everything I've known in Southern California, just both OC and LA. So it's really just, new experience I'm super excited for, but just wanted to just bring it up now. So now let's move on to men's basketball, who lost a tough 89-82 game at Ohio State last Wednesday. Elijah Arenas led with 25 points. Ezra Alzar, 9 rebounds. And Arenas also 3 assists, leading the way there. USC had an early lead. I think it was about 12-4. But then they couldn't hold on despite Arenas having another impressive game. Like, Elijah Arenas, even though I think it's only his 6th or 7th game back. And no, do not even go there with the joke. Please don't be doing 6-7 in your screen. I sure as hell am not doing it. So Arenas is obviously continuing to impress, but USC just struggled to hold on. So USC now moves to 18-7 on the year and 7-7 in Big Ten play. They're 11th in the conference, and then they're one of the last 4 teams in right now as it stands. They'd have to play. They'd be an 11th seed in the South region with a first 4 game. I think Joe Lunardi projects them playing Texas. So yeah, really in a precarious spot, but. With that coming, USC does have an opportunity for a big quad 1 win when Illinois comes to town on Wednesday night. That'll be at 7 p.m. on the Big Ten Plus. The Fighting Illini are 10th in the country overall, 21-5 overall in the year, 12-3 in conference play. And then on Saturday, USC will host Oregon. The Ducks are 9-16 overall, 2-12 in conference play. That'll be on Fox Sports 1 at 1 p.m. So USC should have Chad Baker-Mazara back, who's been out injured for about the last 2 weeks. That's definitely been hurting them. But USC having him back is going to be huge for the program. So he'll be back, and then obviously a tough game against Illinois, and then a winnable game against the Ducks. USC did win 82-77 up in Eugene on December 3rd. Obviously Oregon, I think everyone thought would be a lot better team, but obviously it's injuries and just been looking a little tough for the Ducks this year, so hopefully it's one that USC can take care of business, especially being on their home court. But the big game definitely is going to be that game against Illinois, and USC has to come ready for that one, especially because that can be one that really just, especially if USC can take care of business in the remaining games, especially with UCLA, UCLA twice, Nebraska, at Washington, and then obviously this Illinois one. I might be one or two other. I think that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much all the schedule left right there. I think USC has a good chance to make it, but they're just in such a precarious position. But having Chad Baker-Mazara back is really going to be huge for them, so I'm excited to tune into that game after work on Wednesday night. Also, just to be clear, I am announcing times in Pacific time, even though I am on the West Coast, just based on kind of where USC is. I'm going to be using the times that USC puts on its website just for clarity amongst all fans. So anytime, if I don't clarify the time zone, you can assume that it's Pacific time. So just wanted to clear that up, especially now that I'm in the East Coast and not even just reciting on West Coast times. So now let's move to women's basketball, who got a 79-73 win against Indiana on Thursday. That was my last game actually before I drove out right after the game that night. Big thanks to Woohoo Soup for putting me courtside for that final game. So it was a really fun way to go out. So Jazzy Davidson led with 24 points and 3 assists. And Laura Williams, been impressed with her a lot lately, led with 9 rebounds. And then USC fell behind early after the first quarter, but then rallied back and was able to grit out the win. Like I said, really impressed with Laura Williams as a big. I hope Lindsay Gottlieb keeps playing her a lot. She has been impressing, especially as a big, though. I've really liked how she plays. She's really aggressive, and I really like her physicality. So USC now sits at 16-9 in the year. They're on a 5-game win streak. They're 8-6 in conference play. in 9th place in the conference and currently projected as a 7th seed in Charlie Cream's ESPN bracketology. That puts them in Region 2, which will be taking place in Sacramento. I think they'd have to... But yeah, so I think they'd be slated to go to Austin, I believe, and have to face Texas in the second round, I think is where he has it, where Charlie Cream has him. But obviously a lot is going to change in these final 2 weeks of the women's basketball season, which just saying that now is like crazy. What happened to this season? I mean, it went by so fast. So up next for the Trojans, they will host Wisconsin on Thursday. That'll be at 6 p.m. on Peacock. The Badgers are 13-15 overall on the year, 5-10 in conference play, and then have a tough game, big quad 1 game at number 10 Ohio State. The Buckeyes are 22-4 on the year, 11-3 in conference play. It's a 5-game winning streak. And USC should take care of business against Wisconsin. Obviously, thought USC would take care of the Hoosiers, and that one got a little shaky at times. But then that game against Ohio State is going to be big, especially in Columbus. And Ohio State has been good for a while. And I mean, they've been on my radar ever since Juju Watkins went there and torched them. And even just the way Kevin McGuff's teams have played has just really been impressive. So really, this is going to be a tough game. It's a huge one for USC, especially if they can pull off the upset on the road. That's a huge win for them and should have them safely in. I mean, it seems like, even though they're looking a little precarious, it seems like the women have a stronger case to make than the men's team this year, even though the men started out super strong, but their conference schedule was significantly weaker. But even though I think part because of the wins, I mean, nothing, like I said, like I think for those who know me, it's like how I decide which basketball team I enjoy watching more depends on just how good the teams have been. And I think this year it has been a little bit more fun to watch the men's team just since they've won a bit more. But obviously, their records are starting to, be a little neck and neck at this point. So now that we're, here at this point in the season. So obviously women's basketball's got a big game coming up. Now let's move on to baseball, who got a sweep over Pepperdine. There was a 3-1 win on opening night. That was on Friday. Mason Edwards opening the season up with a win. 5 innings pitched, only 1 hit, no runs allowed, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. Adam Troy getting the save. Augie Lopez going 1 for 4, and Kevin Takeuchi going 1 for 3. So that was obviously a great way to start the season with a gritty win. Then got an 11-0 win in 7 innings on Saturday, the first combined no-hitter since 2018. And Andrew Lamb doing the honors, taking a 2-run walk-off homer in the bottom of the 7th to trigger the run rule. Grant Govell had an amazing game, pitched 6 innings, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, and a career-high 10 strikeouts. Takeuchi went 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs. Avery Covarrubias went 2 for 3 with 3 runs. And Dean Carpentier went 2 for 3 with a solo home run. So it's all around just really impressive. And for his efforts, Grant Govell was named the Big Ten Pitcher of the Week. So really, I knew, honestly, the 3 guys who've started, I'll get into Andrew Johnson in a minute, just didn't really surprise me if those guys were named starters, especially based on how Mason Edwards, obviously, bit of a shaky freshman year, really his game went up a notch for his sophomore year. It was really exciting to see how he developed under pitching coach Sean Allen. And then he's obviously continued to translate that into the Friday night starter role. Grant Govell, I saw the potential all along, which is how much Andy Stankiewicz trusted him early out of the bullpen last year, especially if things weren't getting a little shaky with the starter. Govell was often the first, was really heavily relied on in that first game. And then, so yeah, obviously, and then Andrew Johnson had a great game himself on Sunday. Talk about that real quick. USC won 8-5 against the Waves to complete the sweep. So Johnson had 5 innings pitched, just 2 hits allowed, and 5 Ks. Adam Troy got his second save of the year. Takeuchi went 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Covarrubias went 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs, 2 walks to stolen base. And Isaac Cadena went 1 for 1 with 2 RBIs. So obviously impressive game. Like I said, Govell was named the starting pitcher. And just, I'm really impressed with USC's weekend rotation. I think it's a great 3 guys they got out on the mound, especially, like I said, Edwards and Govell I saw, and then Andrew Johnson, I think, just had some great outings last year. I think really prepared him well for this opportunity to be the Sunday starter. So up next for the Trojans, they're supposed to take on LMU tomorrow night, but due to weather, Game has been rescheduled to Wednesday night, still at 6 p.m. on Big Ten Plus. The Lions are 1-2 on the year. And then USC will host Rice for 3 games from Friday through Sunday. They'll be 6 p.m. on Friday and Saturday and noon on Sunday, all 3 on Big Ten Plus. So I think USC has an opportunity to continue building on some momentum. I'm really interested to see who plays on Wednesday, pitching-wise, and also how Andy Stankiewicz decides to adjust for Tuesday up, and also excited to see how this team then does against Rice this weekend. So really excited for this team, and I think they've really shown a lot of promise, especially huge for them now being back on their home Dedeaux Field after 2 years out in Great Park. So let's now move on to men's volleyball, who split with UC Irvine this past week. They got a 3-2 win in Irvine on Wednesday against the 5th-ranked Anteaters. 24-26, 22-25, 25-16, 25-19, 18-16. Dylan Klein led with 24 kills. Noah Roberts and Sterling Foley had 1 ace each. Parker Tompkinson led with 8 blocks. Caleb Blanchette led with 57 assists. And Blanchette led with 57 assists. And Klein and Blanchette led with 9 digs each. USC could have won the first, and then ultimately fell down 2-0 before coming back and pulling off the reverse sweep, which was especially impressive considering Wesley Smith did not play and was not even with the team that day. Not sure what was going on there, but did notice that since I did go to that game. So it was a really exciting game, especially for my last one for men's volleyball for the foreseeable future. But then 2 days later, USC lost 3-1 to the Anteaters, 25-20, 25-23, 23-25, 25-23. Another close battle. Klein led with 23 kills. Foley 2 aces. Tyler Robinson led with 4 blocks. Caleb Blanchette had 53 assists, and Foley led with 11 digs. So obviously I thought Tyler Robinson coming in on Wednesday was huge for them, but then obviously continuing. Then USC was unable to beat the Anteaters, who were definitely out for revenge. I didn't get a chance to watch that one since I was driving, but obviously it's honestly one of those ones that's just so great. The last 3 years, these teams have played each other twice, and especially just with the home-and-home system they have, it's so great, especially playing one in Irvine, then one up in LA. It's just a great matchup, great series. I love it. So USC now sits at 8-1 the year. They'll be off for 18 days before facing number 1 UCLA on March 3rd on the Big Ten Network. Obviously, with that NIL tournament that was supposed to be at Honda Center in Anaheim, USC was clearly unable to find opponents to play in the meantime, so they'll be off. So hopefully they can get some rest and then become ready for conference play, especially just starting off with UCLA. It's going to be big for them. So I'll talk more about that next week. Now move on to beach volleyball, who saw both Zoe Henson and Kennedy Coakley both named to the AVCA Player of the Year watch list. And the Trojans open their season this week at the Outrigger Duke Kahanamoku Beach Classic. So on Thursday they'll play Stanford and LMU. The Stanford game's at 1 p.m., LMU at 4:45. Friday they'll face host Hawaii at 11:45, and then Cal at 3:30. And then Saturday they'll face UCLA at 2:15 and Texas at 4:45. That's a tough opening lineup, but it's really going to be super competitive. Especially, I'm really liking it. Especially the other storyline is both Madison White, former Trojans Madison White and Grace Hong now are at Texas and Cal respectively. So definitely interested to see those games and how they play against their former school. So really interested in that one. I was wondering when I covered the MPSF Media Day if either of them would be there, and if so, I'd have definitely, asked them a question about, getting to face USC, because obviously, they're definitely out. And it's definitely, even when I was there, I asked Dane Blanton about a couple of players, including White and Maven Thomas, who's now at TCU, just how you, reload on players like that who are so critical to your lineup and then opt to go elsewhere, who have eligibility remaining, opt to go elsewhere to finish their careers. So honestly, that was really interesting to talk about. So definitely excited for this beach season. Hopefully USC can bring back another championship, especially just how much they've just raised the standard, how competitive the MPSF is going to be. It's going to be a great season. I'm really excited for it and can't wait to watch as much as I can. Now move on to lacrosse, who lost. So after winning their opener on Super Bowl Sunday, lost 15-4 to Denver on Thursday. Hannah Barron, Hollis Mulroy, Anna Regan, and Vivian Leuthold had scored 1 goal each, and then Charlotte Morton, who recorded the loss, had 2 saves and 12 goals allowed and played the first 3 quarters, and then Ellie Thomas had 1 save and 3 goals allowed and played the final quarter. So yeah, DU took the lead control early and just never looked back. But then 3 days later, the Trojans responded with a 9-8 win against Brown. Kaylee Fravert led with 3 goals. Charlotte Morton had no saves and 4 goals allowed and played the first half. And then Thomas, who recorded the win, had 2 saves and 4 goals allowed. So while USC was up at half, Brown did close in the second half, but USC was able to hold on. So USC now sits 2-1 as they head on the road for the first time this year. They'll be at UC Davis on Friday at 4 p.m. You can watch that game on YouTube. And then at Stanford on Sunday at 1 p.m. on ACC Network Plus. So first road trip of the year for the Trojans. So third-ranked women's water polo took part in the Barbara Calvis Invitational that was hosted down at UC Irvine and took third place in the event. They won 13-11 against 7th-ranked Long Beach State on Friday. Ava Stryker led with 4 goals. Anna Reed had 6 saves and 4 goals allowed and played the first half. Lauren Schneider had 1 save and 7 goals allowed, and then played the second half. And then it was a game that USC held the lead on, but you gotta give credit to Long Beach State for never quitting and putting up a fight. Then they lost on Saturday. They lost 10-9 to second-ranked UCLA. Emily Osmus and Stryker led with 3 goals each. Reed had 8 saves and 10 goals allowed and played the whole game. So USC was up at half. UCLA rallied at third to tie it and then took a late lead in the fourth quarter and held on. And then the third place game, USC got a 15-12 win against 4th-ranked Cal. Osmus led with 4 goals, and then Reed had 7 saves and 12 goals allowed and played the whole game. And then USC started strong, even though Cal was competitive. They were able to hold on the lead despite being a very competitive game. So USC sits now at 11-2. I'd imagine they're going to likely stay at 3 again. And then they have their first conference game of the year at San Jose State. That'll be on Saturday, likely on overnight.com. It's the first conference game of the season for the Trojans. Move on to swim and dive, who have their 12th ranked women's team take part in the Big Ten Championships in Minneapolis. That'll run from Wednesday through Saturday. And then the men's will be a week later in Madison. But for the women's team, it was announced earlier today that Mina Abraham of the team will not be with that. He released a statement that due to personal reasons, she won't be with the team in the Big Ten Championships. So that will definitely factor in, but we'll see. Best of luck to USC women's swim and dive this week. Track and field took part in both the Don Kirby Elite Invite hosted by New Mexico, as well as the Husky on Friday and Saturday, and then the Husky Classic hosted by UW just on Saturday. And USC was able to USC obviously had some big wins out of that. They got one win on the first day of the Don Kirby Elite Invite, and then had a great day at both on day 2 of the Elite Invite in New Mexico, as well as the Husky Classic, where Oluwatosin Woli set a new personal record of 206.44 in the women's 800 meter. So up next for track and field will be the Big Ten Indoor Championships in Indianapolis. That'll be from February 26th through 28th in Indianapolis. We'll talk about it then, and that's when the preseason for the indoor season begins. Rowing, meanwhile, is a scrimmage against UC San Diego. That'll be this Saturday. That'll be this Saturday against UC at the Port of LA. So best luck to them as they get ready for their season. Men's tennis got a 4-2 win over 24th ranked Pepperdine on Sunday. So the Trojans got the doubles point on Friday. Yeah, it was on Friday the 13th. So USC got the doubles point and singles wins from Nathan Trouvé, Max Ekstead, and Andrin Casanova. So they now sit at 7-3 on the season, and they get ready to host UCLA. The 5-2 Bruins will come to Mark's Tennis Stadium on Saturday at 1 p.m. It's the last non-conference matchup for the Trojans before Big Ten play begins. Women's tennis will resume back up after 18 days off when they host Fresno State, the 5-2 Fresno State Bulldogs on Wednesday at 3 p.m. And then 3-2 Pepperdine Waves come on Sunday at noon to close out the weekend before USC gets into, as USC nears the end of Big Ten of non-conference play. So women's golf, our final team we talk about today, won the Alice and John Wallace Classic in Monterey Country Club in Palm Desert. That was on from February 14th through 16th, so it was ended earlier today. For the team's second win of the season, and Catherine Park secured her 5th career individual win, so big congratulations to both USC as well as Catherine Park on an amazing weekend for the Trojans. So individually, Catherine Park came in first, 11 under. Oh, and then USC's team score was 17 under par, 835 total. And then individual scores were first place was Catherine Park going 11 under par, 202 total score. Second was Kylie Chong, 4 under par, 209 total score. Eighth was Jasmine Koo, 1 over par, 214 total score. Ninth was Bailey Shoemaker, 2 over par, 215 total score. Tied 14th was Elise Lee, 6 over par, 219 total score. And then the independents were Sarah Hammett, who came in tied 21st, 8 over par, 221 total score. And tied 31st was Chloe Kim, 10 over par, 223 total score. So up next for USC will be the Game Above Invitational the Trojans will host with Eastern Michigan. That'll be at Rolling Hills Country Club on March 9th and 10th. So it's the final event for USC So this final event for USC before, so this is kind of it. So USC has about a month off, about 3 weeks, and then they hit the final stretch of the season before, and with obviously, big events coming up before with conference play. So best luck to them. So last week I went 2-0. That puts me at 46, 15, and 1 on the season, 357, 134, and 1 all time. So obviously we'll see if I can make it to anything, whether it's out here, if I go home at all for whatever reason during the season. But yeah, I made 62 games this year, went 40, like I said. So my records in each of them were 2-1-1 in soccer, 14-5 in women's volleyball, 7-2 in football, 2-0 in men's water polo, 7-3 in men's basketball, 8-4 in women's basketball, and 6-0 in men's volleyball. So obviously, definitely tough to, possibly see this be the end. I'm going to tell you, made it to, and then all time I've been to 492 games. We'll see if I make it to any others. If anything does come up, I will definitely make sure to announce it here on the podcast. And if you ever do want to know if I can make it to something, I will upload the game day graphics on my Instagram story. So follow me at CrashLit. Because if I post a game day graphic on the day of the game, that means I will be there. You can count on it. So be sure to look for me if you see that come up and you're going to that game. But yeah, definitely, I'm excited for this next chapter here in Virginia. But I am going to miss all of you who I've, interacted with over the years. And thank you, obviously, all for all your support. It means the world to me. Like I said, Behind the Caution Tape is not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere, at least with my coverage. I will come to what I can. That is what I can promise the Trojan family right now. And, yeah, just want to thank everyone for their support over this, just throughout these last 4.5 years, and can't wait to keep seeing you at the games I can make it to. And obviously, excited, like I said, excited for this new chapter. But obviously, it's a little bittersweet to be leaving, to not be able to attend something that's just attend games of just a place that just meant so much to me, both personally and professionally. So thank you to everybody. That's going to do it for us here on Behind the Caution Tape. I'll see you all next week. Be sure to check out Voice of College Football tomorrow night. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen, whether it's Apple, Spotify, or on my YouTube at CrashLit. So subscribe to me there. Follow me on Instagram and X at CrashLit. I'll see y'all soon, and I'll be sure to keep y'all in the loop of what's going on with me and what game I'll be at next. But as it stands right now, I'm not going to make it to anything this week, but I'll definitely be watching and obviously keeping up with everything like I have been. Thank you again for all your support. And of course, as always, fight on.